Welcome back everyone! Today, I'm gonna be turning myself into a VTuber. So, as you've seen in my other videos, I use a 3D character to represent myself, and this model is not for VTubing. This model was made and rigged properly so that I can animate it for videos, maybe like series, a movie or something. It's good, but I've had some issues using it. So one of the things that I had problems with is there's some weird deformations on the hands which I have to correct every now and again. Also, I couldn't render many scenes with the character because my computer didn't have a good graphics card. Now I do have one, but still doesn't take away many of the intensive hours that I would need to sync the model with my voice. So I was thinking that maybe I could use a VTubing model and record myself while using it so that it would be easier for me to just work with that, not having to animate it, make my pipeline a little bit faster and easier. And I'm taking this chance to also redesign it because my girlfriend told me that if I wanted to be a VTuber, I should redesign my character to make it more appealing, have it more details, be more interesting and stuff like that. So I'm gonna be working on that. So one thing that I'm gonna do now is I'm gonna begin looking for references on Pinterest and I'm gonna be dropping them here in my file. When I'm thinking of the redesign and thinking of the colors of the character, one thing that I really like and I've always liked is navy blue or maybe royal blue. I also like, JoJo's Bizarre Adventure. If you do watch it and you like the anime, you've probably wondered what your stand name would be. I have one song in particular that I really like, which is called El Rey Azul, or The Blue King, translated to English. That's one song that I've been listening to since I was a kid. I don't know, this song has grown on me over time. It's one of the first songs that I learned to sing. And yeah, I'm thinking that maybe I could take these elements of like royal blue color and the concept of like a king or royalty. I'm looking for these kind of coats and capes in these colors. I'm getting some inspirations for boots, cloaks, little design elements. I'm gonna group all of my references and inspirations so that I can watch them all inside the file while I work on it. I'm gonna begin by doing a very simple sketching out of a face. I'm taking this approach of like making this very handsome anime character guy. So I'm working hard on building the bases. If you probably see my comic, this is not my usual style, but hopefully, I still do know how to draw anime. And yeah, that's one thing that VTubers do have in common, which is the anime style. And I'm thinking of doing this hair, which is kind of like my hair on its best days. When I stylize my hair, it kind of looks a little bit like this. Not so good, but yeah, that's a little part of me. Taking it also from the references that I got. I'm trying to make it as formal, as real-like as I can make it. I'm adding the color with the jewel, adding like a little vest underneath, the coat over. One thing I really like about coats is when you get to have these long necks. I really love Persona 5. It was my introduction to the series, and I like how they handle the fact of dual identities, the other self, your shadow self. Some characters do have this theme and aesthetic of old style, fancy, classy characterizations. Like for example, Joker has his long coat with his long neck. His persona is based off Arsène Lupin, the fancy thief, I think it's called. And so this idea of being like fancy royal. So I'm also taking inspiration to maybe make the glasses of my character, but I realize that's not gonna cut it. So I make this mask that I could use, something more close to Lucina from Fire Emblem. I'm gonna use a star shape for everything in my design, so bear with me on that. But yeah, this is my rough draft with my character. I'm thinking of maybe adding like a blue fire crown, but it's something that's gonna be for later because I don't actually know how to do that. So yeah, I'm gonna take my character, I'm gonna scale it down and begin building out the body so that I can use it for reference when I'm building on Blender. But yeah, I'm gonna add the boots. I'm gonna add some more details in the boots, make it a little bit more fancy. Give him these Joker style pants that are very puffy. Give him his coat and his small little coat, something more akin to Code GS. If you've seen that, they have this royal old English like style but stylized. I'm adding the gloves. I'm just shaping out the jacket and the cloak and some minor details. And yeah, this is gonna be my initial concept. I think it looks pretty good. I do like it a lot. Then what I'm gonna do is that I'm gonna get both these characters, like the bust visual, the full body visual. I'm gonna begin outlining them just so that I can color them and then just exporting them to be used as reference for my 3D model. I shape out the eyes, I shape out the hair, add some more details. Those details are gonna be in the final model. I'm gonna try and get them there, but I don't really promise much of anything. It's gonna be a little bit harder than you'd think. But yeah, I'm gonna shape out the hair and the head, and then I'm gonna move out to the body and the clothes, and then I'm just gonna give it a very simple color. Yeah, so now that I have the bust image, I just duplicate it and scale it down to the model, so I don't have to redraw everything that I just did and just build that. And yeah, now my outline's done. Now what I need to do is just color it, and I'm gonna add all the base colors. I'm not gonna shade anything because it really wouldn't make any sense, since I'm gonna shade it with the shader, obviously, for the characters. So I don't really need to go that deep into the colors. So I'm just gonna go ahead and take the base colors, put them on, and then just make it look good so that I can export it and then use it. You can see that here with the color and the little vest, I'm going for a more Victorian style kind of coloring and texturing. So, you know, the beige color for shirt, and the vest is going to be a little bit more brownish gray. For the cloak, I want it to be the royal blue that I like. For the upper jacket, I want it to be something close to navy blue. I mean, I'm going to go scaling down on the tones of this, a little bit less saturated so they don't fight with each other and we have a clear hierarchy of the colors. I'm going to use the same kind of leather color for the boots and the gloves. I'm going to make the pants a very dark blue, almost something like kind of black, but not so much. So I take more inspiration from the blues. So most of the shades in this character are gonna be based off of blue. So that's one detail that I really like to have done. I'm gonna complement everything with this gold outline, just to bring home the royal aesthetic. And yeah, I'm just filling in everything with the paint bucket. I'm getting ready to export it and send it right into Blender. So I'll be seeing you there. So right now, I'm on a new Blender file. This is going to be the file where I'm going to do all the work necessary for my new model, my VTuber model. And what I want to do is append a model that I can tweak and get it to the shape that I need for VTubing. So for those who don't know, appending is kind of like importing a model from another file without you having to export the model from that file first. It's kind of like linking that model from that file. And yeah, so what I do is that I go to my settings. You cannot actually see them because I was recording only the Blender's screen and I didn't actually catch that one for some reason. But yeah, so I go to my X Factor file, I grab the character, go to the X Factor file after deleting everything, and as you can see, it imported with a lot of shapes. These are the shapes for the rig, and what I'm gonna do is actually just get rid of the rig. I'm just gonna work purely on the mesh, and then I'm gonna UV unwrap it, do the texture painting, and then add a new rig that's more simpler, and that's gonna work better with the requirements for BRM files that we're gonna be using to turn this into a VTuber model. I do some fixes before I can delete the rig, like adjusting the scale of the rig because for some reason it was very small, but yeah, that allows me to have my model properly scaled. Now I go into the model, I get rid of the hair because that hair was not working for us, and yeah, I'm gonna begin tweaking it. I first get in my reference sheet that we just worked on, I import it into Blender, I do the usual steps. Since my model is already of the height that I want the character to be, I just scale the image, then I move the image back so the image doesn't overlap, and I begin by the head. As you can see, my model had a very big head, I just needed to make it a little bit smaller. I'm gonna begin tweaking the arms because these arms seem to be too long. So I'm gonna be testing that by just shrinking the arms and testing them to the sides. Then I'm gonna be tweaking the outline from the front view of the character so that it meshes perfectly with the body. Then I'm gonna go to the foot and adjust a little bit and then slowly move it in to my reference. And yeah, this is just a very quick process of grabbing the mesh and tweaking it as slowly as I can do. So one thing that happened there is that I'm using the mirror option inside the mesh because this mesh was made with a mirror modifier which copies the movement on each each side, which makes a mirror copy on the other side that reacts exactly how your right side or left side mesh is modeled. But this one simulates this mesh because the mesh that I am using has already been mirrorized. So I first modeled this character with a mirror modifier, and I added the non-symmetrical details like the hair, and now I'm working with that model. And I'm using this mirror tool, which is really not as useful because sometimes the geometry can be confused with another geometry, and it's gonna give us some tiny problems, but so far it's working as best as it can. So I'm gonna keep tweaking this part of the leg and just get it to match the reference and this overly stylized pants that I made. Then I'm gonna go to the neck, adjust a little bit, make it so the neck is following the reference as best as I can, and yeah, I very quickly get the overall shape to match the reference. I do some adjustments on the shoulder topology so it works and deforms better, and then I'm gonna go to the eyes and begin adjusting. So as you can see, my model is very rough on the edges because I was modeling it with a subdivision surface, which adds extra geometry without it being like true physical geometry unless you export it with that modifier, but it does give you a better view and look. It just smooths out the surface better. But of course, since I'm gonna export this character, I have to be very mindful of the polygon count. So I'm gonna be manually adjusting it, and then I'm gonna add more geometry for things that actually match, like the eyes and then the nose. I'm trying to adjust the rough shape of the eyes, the nose, and the eyebrows, begin tweaking it. So like I said, I use the subdivision surface option, but I need to be very mindful of my polygons. So here I'm gonna go to the eye and make it as round as possible by adding more loop cuts and just shaping it out. Now this is gonna allow me to have a roundish eye that I can just have without having any more extra unnecessary geometry, and I'm just fixing the geometry as best as I can. Then I do the same thing for the eyes, and I begin adjusting it to shape it out better, the outline of the eye. I start to realize that the symmetries option inside this edit mode is not copying everything, so I'm better off just getting rid of half the model and applying a mirror modifier again, because this part is very tedious, has a lot of details, and I literally cannot allow it to just not duplicate itself as perfectly as possible. So I apply the mirror modifier and I continue working on the eye. So a big part of this video is going to be time lapses because I mean, you know this drill, you've seen my other videos, you know this process. There's not much I can tell you about just dragging and pulling vertices. I'm just getting it to match and making a smooth transition surface so the mesh looks clean and it transitions as nicely as it can. But yeah, there's not much I can actually tell you about this. Then with my eye done, I decide to add more geometry on the other side of the eye. I add more geometry on the eyebrows. I start shaping out the head a little bit more just because I noticed there's this point in where the head is pinched. And then I go to the side view and I'm again adjusting the parts of the model to where the geometry would work. So since this person is actually a little bit taller, they should also be a little bit more thin. So I'm working on that. I'm shaping out better the neck and the nose. As you can see, the nose needs a little bit more geometry, so I'm gonna go back to that soon and adjust it. But first I just want to adjust the geometry as best as I can so it doesn't have any problems. So now on the arm, what I'm gonna begin doing is the glove. I shape it out, I extrude some vertices parts of the glove. I start extruding the top jacket, the bottom jacket, and shaping it to reference. A lot of this process is just taking the arena model and getting it to fit with the new reference and just adding new geometry for just the clothes. This allows me to avoid simulating anything and making the process of running this model way easier. And yeah, although it may look a little bit more complicated, it's a very worth it process because it does look very good in the end, I promise. Here I'm pretty much just focusing entirely on doing the clothing and getting it to match. I do some adjusting of vertices that may be hidden from within the middle, and yeah, I'm as ready as I can be to just begin tackling the face a little bit more. So I shape out the nose better, I add more geometry, and I begin making it smaller so it doesn't look weird. I also add more geometry to the chin, and I begin shaping it out. A little bit more geometry all over the face so that it looks smoother, and our animations look better. And yeah, just like I said, this is a little tweaking by hand. Now I'm gonna go to the eyes. I'm gonna adjust the mesh a little bit more for the eyes and head. You know, just keep tweaking at it, just chip away at it and get it as nice as possible. I check all over the model. I try to smooth out some of the vertices, some of the spaces, so it looks as best as it can. Because we don't have this subdivision surface tool, we have to sort of make it as nice as possible. And we're extruding the neck for the cloak, just get it to match the geometry and do some very quick adjustments there. You know, this is a very simple process, so yeah. I play around with some geometry a little so that it is easier to manage. I add some loop cuts so that it matches reference. I readjust the eyes and the eyebrows to fit the new geometry. Then I take some simple geometry from around the eye to just get the eyelashes. They don't need to be that complex, so I can just make a very simple plane that's gonna be over the eyes and easy to control. Now the next part, which is actually the end, is I'm gonna be modeling the hair. Since this is geometrized, I'm just gonna get the shape of the hair so that I can begin extruding it and using it. I just mark it with seam cuts so that I can later on just extrude it. I also go to the neck because I forgot about that. I just grab geometry so that it fits with the reference as much as I can. Yeah, this is just me finishing this neck part, which is gonna get me to the very next step, which is last is the hair. Oh, and also extruding the cloak is the last part. But yeah, this is me just doing the finishing details. I'm beginning to prep the mesh. So get my cloak, I just do some adjustments to the mesh, and yeah, I think I'm pretty much ready to apply the mirror modifier now. Before I do apply the mirror modifier, I do need to go all over my model and mark the seam cuts to UV unwrap. It's easier this way because I have to go through half the model only, so I'm gonna do that very quickly. So yeah, now all my seam cuts have been marked. I go to the tongue and the teeth because with mirror modifier and the eliminating of the subdivision surface, I lost some detail. So I have to go back, take out the teeth, apply a subdivision surface, and then just cut around it so we have a decent enough geometry and we can just use it. So I get it in the model, I do some adjustments to the teeth so that they look nice. I delete part of the teeth and I just mirror it downwards. I do some adjustments on the mode sack and yeah, just tweak little details. Then I'm gonna apply the mirror modifier after saving a copy. Now what I want to do is export the amulet, the gem at the bottom of the, let's say, kind of necktie, fancy necktie, and I just get it to a cigar form. I extrude it and I begin outlining the shape of the gemstone. I go to the hair and I just extrude it to all directions, and I'm gonna begin tweaking it, you know, just using the sculpt tools to drag and pull vertices to get the outline of the hair that I already marked, and then I'm gonna take part of the geometry and begin extruding it and making into those little spikes of the design that I made. I work on both the front and back view, and I also go to the side view to just make sure this shape makes sense in an entire 3D environment. Then, like I said, I grab some faces, I extrude them down, I begin drawing the vertices so they fit within my reference and where that hair is supposed to be, and I just keep adjusting it. And I'm gonna be doing this for all the parts of the hair that I'm missing. One thing that I want to keep in mind with these hair is to just keep the flow. So hair has been stylized backwards, but it does jump out, but still, you know, I get these little strands of the hair to curve out, but also they go back. So this gives a little bit more of a two-dimensionality to the model, making it feel more realistic. So this way we avoid just feeling like we have a very stylized vision from the front, and on the side we have nothing, no texture. Now this is an important part. I think I talked about this while I was doing the design. For these strands on the back of the hair to be visible from the front or any other angles, they need to be longer than you expect. So right now I'm going to be extruding them, and as you can see they are not as visible from the front. I'm trying to make them in a way that makes sense, but as I keep tweaking them and going back and forth to the front and back view, I begin to realize that I have to make them way longer than I need them to be. So one disclaimer is that it's going to begin looking a little bit ugly because they're going to be too long on the back, and I'm only going to make the side ones because that's only the detail that I need to be visible. If I detail more on the back, I'm going to end up with way more geometry than I'm not going to need. So it's going to look a little ugly from the back, but from the front, which is our main view, it's going to look as good as possible. So yeah, I don't know whether or not to finish this here. I think I will do that because I've been working on this for a long time. I'm about to finish the texturing process, but I also have to go to the rig and the weight painting and also test it out. So this video may be a little bit too long, and I don't have any more time to upload it before my scheduled time. So this is gonna be part 1, and I think I'll be seeing you around part 2. So as always, thank you very much for watching this video, staying until the end, listen to my rants, and you already know the drill. Just like, subscribe, comment, hit the bell so you get notified whenever I upload new videos, and yeah, I'll be seeing you around, pals.